Hello and good morning. The title of my PowerPoint presentation is a biopsychosocial review of obesity. First slide, what is obesity? Obesity is a chronic health condition characterized by excessive accumulation of body fat. It's something that affects millions of Americans and as human beings in general around the world every single day. And health psychologists view obesity as a complex condition influenced by the biopsychosocial model, including biological factors, psychological factors, and social factors. And it's a huge risk factor that can come with a lot of chronic diseases, including cancer, diabetes, and even heart disease. Understanding obesity. Now, when trying to understand obesity, it's far more of an in-depth concept than just saying that someone is overweight due to being unhealthy. It's more complex than that. It's more layers that go through to it than that. And hidden factors that a lot of people don't consider contribute to why millions of people around the world are dealing with being obese on a daily basis. Obesity as a public health concern. Now, this condition to lead to chronic disease, like I stated earlier, and decreased quality of life and added healthcare costs, meaning more trips to the hospital, more medications you have to be on equals more money you have to spend. And understanding obesity through a biopsychosocial framework can lead to effective prevention, individualized prevention, and treatment strategies for that specific individual, which is something that is discussed within our textbook by Taylor and Stan. And obesity has become one of the most deadliest and common health challenges in the world today. It leads to millions of people's deaths every single year. What is the biopsychosocial model? Now, the biopsychosocial model breaks it down to three components. Biological deals with like genetic disposition, genetic factors. Psychological deals with like stress, your social skills, how you cope, things of that nature. And social deals with like things that are around you, your family, your peers, things like that. They all play a key role into how a person deals with daily life and even handles things like with such as obesity. Now, health outcomes are best understood by examining how these factors interact rather than focusing on a single cause. So basically, combining all the factors and be like, okay, what do all of these things play as a role together to cause this to happen? And even social factors like social and economic status, social support, and environmental conditions play a huge role in that as well. Applying the biopsychosocial model to obesity. Now, obesity is considered a chronic condition that develops through the interaction of biological, psychological, and social influence rather than a single cause. Now, breaking those down, biological genetic disposition, meaning if your family was obese, it's a good chance you're going to be obese. If psychological, if your way of dealing with stress and dealing with your emotions is emotional eating, like grabbing McDonald's after work to just eat your sorrows away, make you feel better, that can play a huge role. And social as well. If your only access to food is high calorie intake foods, then that can lead to you being obese if that's all you consume every single day. Early life and family history on obesity. Now, family history plays a huge factor as far as being an increased risk for being obese. If both of your parents are obese, your grandparents were obese, and your great-grandparents were obese, there's a good chance that you're going to be obese as well. Now, family eating patterns also play a huge role as well, meaning if your family often eats dinner when you were a kid and it was nothing but deep fried foods or high-calorie foods, and once you got older, that's what you know because that's what you ate, and you have kids, it's a good chance that you're going to continue the same thing because it's just that's what you know and that's what you've been exposed to and seen, so that's all you know. And compared to their other peers, children with severe obesity are at a greater risk for adult obesity and related health problems, which was found within the article by Bass and Inelli. Hormones and metabolism. Now, metabolism plays a huge role in how the body breaks down foods. Now, metabolism regulates how the body uses and stores energy. Now, hormone imbalances can contribute to weight gain, which is very, very important. Two key hormones, ghrelin and leptin, which deal with hunger and is having that feeling of being satisfied with what you ate and that feeling of being full. Ghrelin and leptin, which deal with hunger and is having that feeling of being satisfied with what you ate and that feeling of being full. Ghrelin and leptin, which deal with hunger and is having that feeling of being satisfied with what you ate and that feeling of being full. If they are both out of whack, then this can contribute to instances such as late night eating, binge eating, and things of that nature, which, if left untreated and not properly seen with a physician to figure out what's going on, can lead to you being obese, because you can just lead you to late night eating the first thing that you see in your kitchen, or going out and buying the first thing that you can think of to to fill your hunger. It's a complex thing. It's a complex disease influenced by multiple psychological factors rather than a simple process of just overeating and a lack of exercise, which is in the article by Kong et al. In 2025. Medical consequences of obesity. Several medical consequences of being obese: increased risk of type 2 diabetes. It can really reduce your quality of life and shorten life expectancy. And it can contribute to hypertension and even heart disease. Really key things that can happen as a consequence of being obese. And it's a disease that requires careful management to avoid negative health consequences. Once obese, it's something that requires careful planning, lifestyle change, and then just intervention to prevent further bad things from happening, such as increased risk of disease, being on more medications, and then just having just lack of energy in order to do anything, even normal everyday activities. Stress and obesity. Now, stress can increase appetite, leading to emotional eating, and you can use food can play a key role in this, because you can use food as a way of escaping and just getting away and just eating your pain away, which is not a good thing, because that has a lot of consequences as well. Because you do this every day, this can lead to added weight gain, and before you know it, you've gained 20 pounds within a short time span, and you're sitting there wondering, how did it happen? You stress and you emotional ate your way through in order to gain that weight. And constant binging and overeating, that can play a huge role as well. And just stress in general. Now, stress can contribute to this playing a role in using food as an escape, which I just talked about. Emotional eating and depression. Now, negative emotions can lead to poor food choices and eating behaviors, which is very true. If you have negative emotions and just down in the dumps, it can lead you to not being in the right mindset to make proper food choices, and just wanting to eat the first thing that you can see. And depression and anxiety can play a huge role too, because they can contribute to you overeating. And a key thing is culturally informed interventions, meaning if you're in different demographics, African American, Native American, and so forth, having interventions that specifically deal with your culture and actively speak to you, and you can relate to and understand, and be like, okay, this makes sense to me. Okay, this makes sense to me. It's broken down to where I can understand. I can do this. I just have to make these correct changes in order to combat obesity. Self-efficacy and health behaviors. Now, self-efficacy is a big thing. It's just having that freedom to make your own decisions. If somebody has that in their mind that, okay, I can do this, I can make my own decisions. If I want to get healthy, lose weight, and live a healthier life, then having that mindset of, okay, I have the goal in mind of how much weight I want to lose, let's say 30 pounds. If you have a goal in mind, you have proper support, and you self-monitor yourself and keep yourself honest and keep yourself accountable, this can lead to higher rates of healthy behaviors and increased chances of losing weight. Family influences on obesity. Now, parents influence children's eating and rate of physical activity every single day. If your parents grew up and you were a kid and you saw that your parents never worked out, never wanted to get together, go outside, play together, go outside, play sports, or do anything physical, good chance that's gonna rub off on you, because that's what you've been exposed to. And family meals and availability of specific foods affect dietary habits. If your family was not a family that ate fruits and vegetables and only ate deep fried foods and high intake snacks, then that's what that's what your body's used to, so that's what you're gonna eat as you become an adult, because that's what you're exposed to. So family influences play a huge role. Socioeconomic and environmental influences. Now, income or lack thereof can have a strong influence on obesity. If you're from a really low socioeconomic status and only have the availability to fast food and not no availability to fruits and vegetables, good healthy foods, then that's all you're gonna eat because in your mind you're like, this is all I can afford, so that's all I can get. And poverty plays a huge role. And if you and the social and environmental factors, if you live in an environment or from a neighborhood where everybody just eats whatever and doesn't think about what they need to eat and just eats constant just fast food, get the first thing that you can eat and eat it, then you're going to be like, well, okay, they do it, so I guess I can do it too because they're all doing the same thing. So, and typically, and in an article that I found by Baydoun and other researchers, that individuals who spend more money on food typically eat healthier food options. They pay the extra money in order to eat healthier and live healthier. Weight stigma and social support. Now, individuals with obesity often experience weight-based stigma. Now, this can be like a negative stigma in your mind that's just like, okay, I've, I have all this weight on me. I feel slow. I feel sluggish. I may never want to go out outside. I'm, paranoid about how people look at me, if they're judging me. Now, this can lead to emotional distress and increased stress. So just in your mind, you're constantly just constantly being negative, thinking, this is who I am. I can't do anything about it. And it's just, and that could lead to just depression and even worse things, psychological things. And negative social experiences can influence treatment outcomes. If you have a negative social influence, if you have family or friends who are constantly negative and not being positive in order for you to make necessary changes, then you may not feel as though changes are necessary. Addressing obesity and BMI. Now, a big thing with this, as far as body mass index, is the most used tool to measure obesity. It is. It's a tool as designated to categorize size, underweight, normal weight, overweight, and obesity. It's a widely used tool, but it should be something that health educators and other health professionals should use other assessments as well when trying to address obesity. Strengths and limitations of obesity. Now, strengths, it's widely used to identify obesity risk, and it's often very used every day in healthcare and research. Now, limitations, it does not directly measure body fat. It does not do that. You can have an athlete who's 6'3", weighs 280 pounds, and they can be categorized as obese. Even though they're in top shape, they have a lot of muscle on them, but according to the BMI scale, they're obese, even though they're technically not. Lifestyle and behavioral interventions. Now, long-term lifestyle changes are more effective than short-term diets, which within the Don et al. Article, which explains the MOVE program, retired veterans, especially those who are participating in the program, who came with that idea of, well, I want to lose weight. They entered the program with that extra motivation, like, okay, I want to lose weight, I want to live a healthier lifestyle, and they're getting that necessary interventions and then sticking to them. So then once the program is over, they're going on and still sticking and making the necessary changes in order to keep the weight off of them. Another thing is self-efficacy, that feeling of freedom and making choice. If you have that freedom of free will and choice, it plays a huge role. And if you constantly self-monitor yourself and holding yourself accountable, it can lead to just that rewarding feeling of like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm sticking to this. Cognitive behavioral approaches. Now, you can use this as a way to develop realistic weight management goals, improve your problem skills, and promote long-term behavior maintenance, which is the goal. Long-term behavior maintenance, so long-term, once interventions that you're in or a program that you may be in to help you lose weight, those skills that you learn stick with you beyond the program. Medical and surgical treatments. Now, stuff such as using things like Ozempic, getting bariatric surgery, these are all options to help you lose weight. But the biggest thing is to have a treatment plan that's individualized for that specific patient. That's a huge thing. If that's done and that's kept in mind, you get the higher results and you have that long-term success going forward. And a big thing too, another huge thing is having long-term follow-up. Having that follow-up to help monitor progress, to keep up with your goals, to make sure that you're still staying on track. Conclusions and future directions. Obesity is a very complex and chronic health condition. Now, the biopsychosocial model plays a huge role in influence of obesity risk. It's not something that can be overlooked. Now, an effective treatment requires the use of the biopsychosocial model, which is very, very true. And another huge thing is early intervention and prevention are critical, meaning if this is done early and somebody's given the skills and the tools and surrounded by positive environment and positive people, this can help stop obesity dead in its tracks and just help you pick up those skills and have that positive mindset in order to live a healthier life every single day. Here are my references, and that concludes my PowerPoint presentation of a biopsychosocial review of obesity. Thank you.